I'd like to welcome you back to Sportscope. Tonight on Sportscope, our guest is Vic Dalrymple, the head coach of the Class A Oak Grove Tigers, and you have to say they're #1 and they're also defending champions. Coach, we really appreciate you stopping by. You know, as I just mentioned, you're #1 in all the polls, you're the defending champion, you're a perennial power, you're always in the playoffs, year in, year out. Can we use the word, the D word, the dynasty word? I mean, can you really consider Oak Grove a dynasty?
I wouldn't know if we'd go quite that far yet, but that's definitely what all programs are probably looking for, and we're getting to a point now where we feel like we can see that out there, and our kids are looking at getting better every year, and they're looking at playing at a higher level.
You won your first championship last year. How much does that help to instill a positive attitude to these guys where, you know, hey, this is what we can achieve?
Well, that's definitely a big deal as far as being able to get your point across. Up until the point in time when you actually win one, they're going on your word. This is the right thing to do. This is how much work we need to do. This is a good scheme. But once it's accomplished, it has a little more validity, and it'll carry you a little further, especially through your work habits.
What would a key to maintaining a high level of a program be? You know, not just winning a championship and then falling by the wayside next year, because you guys have a young team, but you're still right up there.
Yeah, we are. In fact, this time we only have 2 seniors that'll be starting, and then our kicker is a senior. I think the biggest thing is ingraining in the guys that they got to work every day. We work in some form or fashion the year round, and it starts from the 7th grade up with Coach Gamble's junior program. And through the years, 2 or 3 years of that, you weed out the guys that aren't willing to work each day and make themselves better. And we realize that we don't have quite the numbers and the pick of athletes that they have in some place, so they realize they got to play at a higher level and be as strong as they can be, and they've accepted that challenge, and they work real hard.
You mentioned the junior high and the fact that they're already kind of getting into it by the time they get to the high school. What kind of advantage is it to a school like Oak Grove to be the only school, to be the main one, to be the big dog in the city?
Well, for one thing, it gets community wired up. Especially later in the year, we usually start slow, hitting and missing, and people kind of wonder what we're going to be like and what's it going to do. But when it gets time for the playoffs, it seems like everybody just comes in together and gets wired up and starts pushing and talking in the community. You can't go anywhere without hearing something about ball. And it's a real plus, especially for a big game type situation. You don't like to have to get your players up, you know, for a big game in certain situations. Of course, in the playoffs, every game's big. So in a lot of cases, you don't have to put a lot of input in on getting ready for the game because the community's done it for you.
But then again, while the community support is wonderful, how much pressure to stay on top is there? And you also have to say from the community.
Well, see, that's a two-headed dragon deal. When you get to a certain level of success, and that's in any level and in any field there, people start to expect that. And the way I see it, it just has to go with it. You know, for a couple of years there, we were kind of like in an underdog syndrome. You know, we didn't have that much respect from other teams, you know, across the statewide as far as being a deep playoff contender, and we got to sneak up on some people, which made it real exciting, because when the fans think you're going to have to play your best game to even stay in the game, and then you end up winning the game, well, they get super after that. They think that you're world beaters, and that's a real good feeling. But we've got ourselves to a point now where that's gone, and that's good. I mean, it's bad as far as the excitement and being able to think you've overcome something, but when you get to a point where you can say, you know, we're one of the guys that people have to beat and we have to play well all the time, well, then you give up that deal of being able to surprise people and have those shocks, so to speak. You have to play every week, and it's a lot tougher.
How can you maybe head off some of the factions that might begin to, you know, put their 2 cents worth in a small community when you're the only team and you're doing very well, or even when you're doing poorly? I would think there are outside factions that would like to have you do something a certain way, and as a coach, I would think that you'd have to head some of those off before it ever got there. How have you handled that?
I don't know. That's the deal there, that you might handle it different each morning when you get up. our kids, you know, accept the fact that we want them to work hard each day when they come up there, and we want them to play at a higher level. And we try to tell them, look, your mother and your father and your friends, they're only looking at you. You know, and they expect good things from you and expect you to be treated a certain way, but you have to be man enough to say, look, we've got all these other guys out here that have to be considered, and if they get out of line, I like for the kids to be the one to say, look, we're trying to do the right thing here. And you have very little of it, but on some occasions you do. And you know, if someone comes to me with an idea or something, shoot, I'll listen. You know, it might be something that can help. And if it's not, then you just try to keep a low profile and let it pass and go ahead with your business.
I would think, Coach, one of the most amazing things about North Louisiana football are some of the smaller communities that year in, year out, put a program out on the field. Oak Grove is one, of course, and then you've got Jonesboro Hodge, a 3-time state champ. And of course, Ruston really, you know, has to be considered in that vein. You know, where do you keep getting the people to field a quad A team and have a championship caliber program? What do you think the key is to some of these smaller areas that continually find a way to compete at a very high level?
Well, in the first place, it's really exciting just to be mentioned in that clique that you just mentioned. That's a lot of hard work and people putting a lot into it to be mentioned in that group. But I think it's a deal of just a whole community involvement. It's in larger places, sometimes you get the interests are split because there's so many things going on for, you know, the kids to get involved with, and the community as a whole is split. But like in our position there, it's when it comes football, there's nothing else around but just us, and it's really exciting to see the people. Just when you go uptown and just to the grocery store or something, that's the main topic of conversation. What we're going to do Friday, you know, what they got. And it's a good feeling, and it's a good feeling to see those kids come back up there and, you know, bring message. Look, the town's kind of humming, you know, it's going to be a big deal. So it's an exciting thing.
Well, of course, Coach, we don't want to make anybody angry that we didn't mention them in that group. And of course, in North Louisiana, there's nothing like it when it comes to football. We want to really, once again, thank you for stopping by and spending some time in a busy football season to talk with us here on Sportscope. We'll be back with more highlights and more scores coming up, so be sure and stay with us.